be respectful of your time. Thank you for joining the CrossFuse webinar series. This month, this webinar is on customer service management. My name, of course, is Sean Wilson. I'm the Director of Sales here at CrossFuse. With me today, and you'll meet him in just a few minutes, is one of our solution architects, and his name is Andreas Eichelschult. He'll be walking us through the demo. A couple of things to cover just from a housekeeping point of view. We will be sending out a copy of the recording as well as a copy of these slides. What you can expect from me is just a quick intro to who CrossFuse is. I want to talk about kind of the value prop or the promise of customer service on the ServiceNow platform to sort of frame up the value and features you're going to see in the actual live demo. We'll take just a moment to look at some additional features that aren't included out of the box that are included in the CrossFuse Customer Service Management Turnkey. Then I'll flip things over to Andreas, who will dive into our demo and show us both sets of features, the out-of-the-box functionality, as well as our turnkey features. At the end, we'll wrap up with a couple of takeaways, including frankly, it's a savings offer on some services we have around the customer service management component. So just to get us started, I do want to get a quick sense of who's on the call regarding what your current CSM solution is, just so we can perhaps show some contrast between the ServiceNow application and others that are out there. So just a quick poll: what's your current CSM solution? Salesforce, Pega, something you've built yourself, or maybe ServiceNow? And of course, there's always the other component. Looks like we've got about everybody or most of our audience taking part, so we'll go ahead and close that and share the results. About a quarter of you are on Salesforce, another quarter of using something they developed, and we've even got some ServiceNow, some folks that are leveraging ServiceNow for CSM. So great, thank you. We're certainly glad to hear you're an early adopter. So from the point of view as who is CrossFuse, and why are we talking about this today? Just quickly, we've been around for 17 years. There's about 500 of us that work at CrossFuse. We've also done or touched about 500 or more ServiceNow implementations. We're one of 19 gold partners across the globe, and of course we're most proud of the fact that we've got the #1 CSAT on the services side in the partner ecosystem. Lastly, we put a lot of emphasis on reducing risk for clients, as you can see by our 90-day guarantee of all of our work. So that's a bit general overview of who we are. I will also say that we've owned and operated a customer contact center for 12 years offshore in Manila that offers customer service to many different clients. So we've seen a lot of use cases. We have a good understanding of the way that the platform can be utilized, what works and what doesn't. How do we obtain that, that #1 CSAT score? Well, the simple truth is you learn some things when you do this 500 times. The commonalities that we see across the organizations that end up as satisfied as they are or as optimized as they are on the platform, we really know that those commonalities include understanding what they're trying to accomplish, kind of the end state. Certainly, if you've worked on the platform, decisions you make today are going to impact where you're at 9 months from now, and having that vision is really important. Obtaining early wins, momentum inside the organization, certainly, which our Turnkey is a nod towards that. Rare expertise, not just having somebody who can work on the platform, but somebody who intimately understands it, and more importantly, can lead development on the platform in a way to make it as future-proof as possible for upgrades. Of course, two of our founders were very early architects at ServiceNow, think, employee number 42, and have maintained that sort of depth of knowledge. And lastly is really the business value, which, certainly at CrossViews we understand that quantifying the results of the investment is really important. That's a service that we provide at no charge to all of our clients around every project if they'd like. So that's sort of our special sauce, our recipe for that success. So let me talk now about customer service in ServiceNow. Essentially, they have polled 200 customer service leaders and really got feedback as to what challenges they were wrestling with. And I included this slide because a lot of the features you're going to see in the app go directly towards these. Whether it's connecting processes, to be able to leverage maybe even processes that exist within the company but just aren't being directly connected to the customer service group. And really, in a broader sense, getting customer service outside of the silo, making sure or making it as much of a team sport as possible. Automation, we all understand that ServiceNow is a world-class automation and workflow platform, and bringing that to bear to get that tactical stuff out of the day-to-day is really important. So as you see the product, certainly keep some of those issues in mind, because ServiceNow certainly is intended to address all of those and more. I want to talk about the team sport concept, because to me this is the case for really considering ServiceNow as a great replacement for other legacy CSM platforms. So certainly what you see on the screen right now is all around customer engagement, and I would even suggest to you that most solutions in this space do this pretty well. I happen to think ServiceNow does it better than most, but clearly everybody understands customer engagement. We understand that you've got to have good omni-channel I guess roads into the group or into the customer service group: phone, chat, portal, email. Of course, ServiceNow does all those things. Case management has to be strong, whether it's assigning cases, creating cases, etc. But I personally think that that's where the legacy point applications really start to break down. They do customer engagement perhaps okay, but it really treats customer service as a siloed group. The promise with ServiceNow's customer service application is that you get to tap into either existing processes, for example, problem management or change management, and you get to tie into other groups inside the organization. So you can imagine a world where customer service agent has immediate information about perhaps an outage or a change that is affecting a particular product. They understand from that visibility, and they're able to work with their inbound contact very quickly, right? Driving first call resolution. Or the opposite is true. They're able to recognize that there is a problem, assign cases to it, and leverage that hardened problem management process that's already in place. There's other more on-the-nose sort of unified platform plays, whether it's with field services or a product team. One use case we had was a customer wanted to capture product enhancement requests, and that actually ended up getting fed into the ideation phase of project portfolio management, so that those requests could automatically be measured, rated, and considered as far as an investment. So again, it's about getting out of the silo and extending CSAT, or yeah, the striving for CSAT across the organization. To me, from working with hundreds of clients, this is the big win for customer service on ServiceNow as a platform. One more slide and we'll get the product up in front of you, but I want to quantify what you're going to see here is you're going to see some features that are out of the box, and then you're going to see some other features that are included in our turnkey. And our turnkey, as you can see on the slide, has several features, all of which are around driving first call resolution, accurate reporting, productivity gains, or overall CSAT. And while I'm not going to walk you through all of these, I'll pull out one that'll hopefully resonate with you. Callback request. So we had a customer early on who really understood the need for having that built into the platform. That is, clients are able to go to the support portal, and if they don't want to engage immediately, they can log a case or at least a request for a callback by an agent. That just made sense to us. We tested it with some other customers, and certainly there was a lot of demand for that. So that's an example of a feature that isn't out of the box, that is included in our turnkey. And if it makes sense for you to talk about that, certainly more in depth, we'd love to. We are going to show you some of those features today. So I guess that was what I wanted to level set. In any case, our turnkey is really pointed at, the following items: getting new clients, improving revenue per client, reducing that churn, enhancing productivity, or reducing transaction costs. And of course, if you're from the IT side, that's really around pushing self-service in a way that is effective and that people want to engage in. So on the IT side, we've been doing that for years as far as knowledge articles, etc. So taking that experience and expertise and putting it into the CS world, and ultimately call deflection, or in this case, case deflection, and driving down those transaction costs. So we're going to jump in here. I'm going to switch the screen over. As I'm doing that, I would ask our final and last poll, again, just to level set, is: have you seen the out-of-the-box ServiceNow demo? Quick answer, yes or no. And that'll let us know what to prioritize from a feature standpoint. Okay, we can go ahead and close that up and publish those. It looks like about 80% of us hadn't, so that's great. I'll make sure that Andreas remembers that we should be pointing out what's a turnkey versus an out-of-the-box feature. So I'm going to go ahead and make Andreas presenter. Andreas, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Excellent.
Thank you very much, John.
Sure. It's all yours.
Hello, everybody. My name is Andreas Eikeschult. I'm a solutions architect with CrossFuse, and I'm honored to be having the opportunity to show you CSM, how it works in ServiceNow, and how we enhance it with our turnkey. You should all be able to see my screen. What you see here is I'm logged in as George Warren. He is a client of the company, and this is the very first screen of the service portal that ships out of box. The very first prominent feature you will see is find answers faster. It's a very commonly known search opportunity. Clients can search in here for knowledge-based articles. They can search for cases. They can search if you have an active order tracking orders within the system. Next to this part, we have underneath knowledge itself. This is a direct access to the knowledge base. Within ServiceNow, you can have multiple knowledge bases. For example, you have one dedicated per department, and you can have one dedicated for your clients in the CSM space. They can then use this to retrieve information about how can I create a contact, how can I order another product, how can I update my assets and other articles about the products they have purchased. Next to it is Ask the Community. It's very similar to the ServiceNow community or other communities out there on the internet. In this case, it's a contained space within the instance. Only those who you want to be able to access it actually can access it. They have to log into this part, and it allows them to ask a question. Other clients could potentially answer them, or you have dedicated staff who will act as a moderator within the community groups, which will then answer those questions or maybe turn them into cases to follow up in more detail with the clients. The third and last menu item we have on the main screen is Get Help. This will redirect the user when I click on this to a form to create a case. In here, the user has the opportunity to select an asset. This is limited to the assets the user has currently assigned to him or herself, to the account they belong to. And they don't see all the assets, of course, that are in the system. Once one of these assets is selected, the product will be pre-populated underneath. As you can see, we have certain fields that are mandatory. Once a mandatory field has been populated, the asterisk is no longer red, now it's grayed out. And the subject line would then also act the same way. And as you notice at the bottom, we also have a highlighted area where we show which fields are mandatory or not. The system is fully capable of handling attachments, so you can simply click on here, add an attachment. It will be added to the case automatically. Also, once a case has been submitted, ServiceNow will confirm the creation of the case via email to the client. So they will be able to keep track of the case. They will have a unique number. They will also have a link that will directly take them to the case. Let me go back to the home page. The final elements on here would be these three lists at the bottom. These all relate to the knowledge base, except the middle one, this one, discussion topics, directly ties to the community. Most viewed articles, these are the knowledge base articles that are the most clicked, the most opened. Popular support questions, those would be knowledge base articles that are rated the highest. So there's also a star rating system available, so clients can actually say, yes, this is the perfect article that helped me. It's also possible to add comments and suggestions for how to enhance it or what details would be needed as well.
Andreas.
Yes.
I just had a couple of questions. So you've walked us through what George Warren is logged in, obviously. So this is like a B2B scenario. I know we're not going to demo B2C, but if it was B2C, we do have the ability, right, to anonymously engage. Is that right?
Yes, it is possible to anonymously engage. Also, the chat has the ability to anonymously engage with clients.
Great, thanks.
Absolutely. Okay, so as I just mentioned in chat, we have two prominent icons over here. These are added by our turnkey. First of which is callback. Callback also will result with redirecting the user to a form similar to the one for creating a case. Only here we don't capture as many details. Here we are more focusing about the callback request itself. So we request the user to please provide a date and time, as well as the time zone. We can then correctly match that. Please provide some details about the callback request. This will then result as a case in the system, and then it will be highlighted for the agents to follow up with the client at the specified date and time. Going over to the main menu options over here, create a case. We already looked at the form for creating a product case. We also have the ability to track orders. There's an order management plugin available within the CSM space. This is a very similar form to what we saw earlier. Again, here, instead of assets, this is now looking at orders. These are the orders that are in the system of a client, and then they can be selected. When we look at cases, this is a list of cases that the client currently has in the system. We have the overview, the unique identifier, what it is about, if it's related to a product, what the product is, of course, priority state, and when it was last updated. These columns are fully configurable, same as the forms. You can add fields / columns, you can remove them, you can reshuffle them. It is basically working the way it is supposed to be, as you would like to have it. Now, if I open one of these, ServiceNow also has the ability of triggering surveys. So once a solution has been provided on the form, you have here the overview about everything that happened with the case in the past. You see the case details. You have then the ability to accept the solution in here, at which point the case will be flagged as it has been resolved. And now the client is presented with, if we would like to ask you to participate in a satisfaction survey, they can get started. Also here, these questions are fully configurable to the needs your organization has. Going back to the list of cases, the last feature I would like to show you is callback for an existing case. You probably noticed already the action item we have up here. You can request a callback, specify a date and time, request callback. This is now added to the system itself with the date and timestamp. In case the callback is no longer required, you have the ability to cancel the callback. This will be noted in the case, and the agent will then be notified that there is no longer a need for a callback. Also here, the case details. This can be modified if you have more. And attachment, again, you can drag and drop them in here. You can click the icon and use the commonly known browse for a file. Please select it for uploading. The next list I'm going to show you is about assets and orders. Also here, the list view behaves similar as we saw it on cases, fully configurable, different form, same functionality. In this case, all fields are read-only. This can be modified as you see fit. And the same we have here for orders. This is what we saw earlier on the creating a case for an existing order. There's only one order in the system where we can choose from. These are all out-of-box fields. For an existing order, everything is in read-only. We would also have the ability to allow our client to place orders in here, which can then be tracked. Next item is publications. This is also referred to as targeted communications. It allows to craft an article and inform your clients about, for example, as you can see, there is a patch available for software or a hardware, or there's a product alert. Let's say there is a recall in case something was identified that needs to be addressed right away. The system will allow you to craft these notifications in a full HTML capable editor. You can see this here. Now, the next part, when you create a publication, you will then, based on condition, allow the system to identify all the users impacted by this targeted communication. So you don't send it to all your clients, only to those who have, for example, specific assets or specific products purchased previously from you. And then they would also receive this as an email in the content. The next item up here is notifications. This contains publications as well as if a case was updated. When you click on it, it will open the case where this notification is coming from. Last item is live chat up here. This would open the chat interface, which I have also here with the Turnkey as a more prominent icon on the very first page of the portal. This can be moved or adapted and styled the way you would like to see it. What I would like to show you is how does chat actually work. When a client clicks on this, they see an overview about their past chat sessions. So let's go have a new one created. Let's say, how do I reboot the server? We sent the question off. And what I would like to do is show you right away the other side, how it looks for a support agent. So in this case, I am now John Jason. He looks inside ServiceNow at the Service Manager dashboard, where he gets out-of-box preview. I have the cases, in this case by SLA stage, by priority, products, or satisfaction. These are out-of-box reports reports are interactive in ServiceNow. You hover over them, you get already the percentage and how many records are related to this. If I click on that, I would actually see a list of those cases. Now for the chat, if you look on the right-hand side, I open the chat dashboard over here. It's the little icon you see at the very top. If there is a chat in the queue, he will get notified. Everybody in the chat queue for this particular chat queue will be notified. He can now accept this chat, and it will start out here at the bottom. So what I would like to show is we have George on the left-hand side, we have John on the right-hand side. I'm giving us a little bit more real estate to see this in detail. I sure will help you with that. And of course, this will be, as expected, go in real time over to George. Now, this is just for being quickly able to engage and interact with their client, but you don't have to do this on the permanent base. Using the icon up here, you can now start the full chat desktop inside ServiceNow. It will actually open as a new tab. And here we have the same conversation. We have more prominent now the chat queues we are a member of. We can see how long are we engaging with the client and what the client asked, what the topic is in the very beginning. What we can do on this screen, we can directly dive into the knowledge base, giving your agents access to the information you already have prepared in order to address possible questions or question asks in the past from your clients. These are color-coded. You can have, as I mentioned earlier, one per department, for example. You can search at the very top, or you can dive into specific knowledge bases, find the article that is the most relevant, and simply drag and drop it into the chat queue over here, at which time it shows up for the client inside the chat. They can now click on it. The article will open in a new tab in the browser, and they can follow up on it. Another item next here, we can see the members who are currently part of the chat. We also can work with attachments. Attachments work quite nicely. In this case, we have a data product sheet we would like to share with the client, or it's a manual. Then we can just add it here. The client receives it, opens the file with his favorite product, and in this case, it's our turnkey data sheet for customer service management. But this can also be the manual, support documents, any article, any files that you would need to transfer over to the client. Now, let me go back to our chat session over here. Let's say we need to follow up a little bit more. Then the agent has the ability, using the icon down here. Number one, we could escalate to a different chat queue or to a colleague in the same queue. In this case, John Jason is the only one online, so there are no other agents to be displayed over here. But he has the ability to now do a functional escalation of this chat to one of the different groups, so let's say order support or product support. He would just select transfer, and then it would be the same experience as we just had it when the chat session was initiated in the very beginning. It would show up with them in their queue. They have to click accept, and then they would have the chat session there. In our case, we would like to follow up a little bit more in depth. So he would now select create case. We get a split screen over here. The record will be instantiated and pre-filled with some basic details. We already have the channel. Category is defaulted to issue, but we have others like question or feature available. The account, the company George belongs to, has been pre-filled, as well as the contact. From the turnkey, what we added is creating a record on the fly. These are the little plus icons. For example, if a client purchased a product, but it's not yet registered in the system, they could go click the add, the plus icon for an asset in this case. We enter a serial number, we select a product category, let's say computer peripheral. We have a vacuum graphic tablet in this case. Again, here we can modify the form to add any fields you might need. In this case, we're focusing on hardware asset. This also could potentially be software assets or any other class of asset you might have. Clicking submit will now save this new asset in the system, making it instantly available to other agents. Let's say someone else is calling from Voxeo for a similar asset. And then they don't have to do the same steps as John just had to take. they can just go and select the asset that's already available. The next part we have available from the turnkey is the exclamation mark. So in here, this will only show if there are other cases for the same contact. It will show it in a pop-up list, and I can then deep dive and see, oh, we already have a priority 2 case for you. You have an issue with networking. Potentially this has something to do with the case you're currently calling us about. Already allowing them to deep dive, providing other details about what the case is doing over here. Also, it would then be an opportunity, instead of creating a new case, a potential duplicate, opening this case, updating it with the information from this chat session, and you already have speed up the process overall. Let me close the pop-up over here, and we submit the case. I have one mandatory field. This is a very nice example how you can enforce mandatory information on forms. Flag the field as mandatory only when you have a value that will then be allowed to be saved in the system. I would like to show you a little bit about task t-shirt size. Task t-shirt size is another part we have as part of the turnkey. It allows to size to provide more information to a manager who did not read the full ticket, to provide an understanding what is the size, how much work is involved in order to address this case. Small would translate into a rating of 1. We also have medium and large available. Medium would be 2, large would be a 3. This can be easily adapted and adjusted to include also choices like X small, small, medium, large, X large, or any other sizing value you would like to have. And this will then translate over into a dashboard. Now we gave it a rating of small. We submit the case into the system. And now the record is being saved. And also the chat has been updated and the client has received information that the case has been created. Also the client will receive an email notification. So they have basically something in written in the inbox, so they can follow up on this quite nicely. Now let's go and take a look at the fully fledged UI of ServiceNow when we're looking at case management. Let's give ourselves a little bit more space. I close the chat session here on the side and I open up our menu. This is, as I showed you earlier, this is our Service Manager dashboard. And now let's take a look at the customer service. When you click Overview, this is the dashboard you would see. Knowledge, similar to what I showed you earlier, it allows direct access to the knowledge bases available within the system. Now with a little bit more real estate, but it's the same look and feel as what we saw before. My Schedule, this allows within case management, for example, you can track appointments, you can track events, and this would be a calendar which you can share across your teams. Within cases, we have multiple modules with direct access. You can directly create a new one. My cases, everything that is assigned to you, all of them, only the open ones or those which are not assigned to an individual directly. You also have here a nice overview about which channel did they come in, allowing you to create reports and gain metrics about, do we get contacted more via chat or is it web? That would be the service portal. Social integration is possible. We can integrate with Twitter, Facebook, any social media you would like to see, and we can tap into the API, then integration is possible. And of course, we can also be having this done via phone, at which point an agent would use the create new case. Let's go to the case we just created. That was number 8. Remember, we sent over an attachment to George. This has been added to the case and is available on the case itself. Another part we have available on cases is special handling notifications. With the turnkey, we already provided the base structure to set those up for the various tables we're tapping in. These special handling nodes can be static. Whenever a case of this client is being accessed, please display this message. But they also can be dynamic using conditions. Let's say the service contract is about to expire within the next 3 months. In that case, please display a special handling notification that if you happen to have the client on the phone, that you please follow up regarding the service contract, making them aware that it is about to expire, asking them on would you like to renew, what are the other options, talking with them about it. We already started looking at the case form itself. I would like to address the elements we did not look at yet. We have a notion of partners. So if you have a partner organization, for example, who is reselling your products or who's providing support for your products, then you could also have those identified on a case if that would be your primary contact. Now the client, the account would be still George from Boxeo, but let's say the partner, we're looking at Wacom Graphic Tablet, it might be the, let's say Best Buy would be the IT store in this case. You could potentially have those added in here. Priority to prioritize in the queue over other ones. The states are fully configurable as well. Contract and entitlement. This identifies the contract underlying to be used for this case, as well as the entitlement to be used. In this case, it's a 24/7 customer support, but this also could be you are entitled for 20 cases per 6 months or per year, either for free, and everything in excess of that we would collect a specific fee, or it could entitle for a 100 hours phone support. Assignment group assigned to. ServiceNow has the ability to do skill-based assignment, intelligent assignment, at which point you would use the assignment workbench you can access with this icon over here, find agents. You would have the ability to add a field on the form to identify which skills are required, and you could have that auto-populated based on the products and or assets that are selected. Next is task t-shirt size. I already showed you in detail. And finally up here we have time worked. Time worked allows time tracking, which can feed into the out-of-box time card functionality of ServiceNow. With the Turnkey, we enhance this functionality in a way that out of box, this time worked field starts running, ticking the time as soon as you open a case. Now, what we see and what we received as feedback from clients in the past is their agents open the record, they might swivel on their chair, have a question to their colleague, they may be asked by another colleague not working on this case, but the time is running. And then at some point they save the case and the wrong time has been recorded. So the requirement was, can you please have this time worked not run automatically? And we followed suit and added that to the Turnkey. Another item what we do is, remember the two example entitlements I mentioned earlier, one about you have an entitlement for 20 cases per 6 months or 100 hours phone support. The entitlement for 20 cases, case units, so to say, is coming out of box. Whenever a case has been resolved, it will then automatically deduct the numbers of remaining case entitlements from the selected entitlement up here. But there's no functionality provided around when you want to do it by hours. So we added everything that's needed when you would like to offer hours, let's say 100 hours phone support. This will then, as soon as time has been logged against a case, this time will be rolled up and deducted from the selected entitlement, giving you full control. If you change the entitlement, the calculation will be updated, and the client, you could provide them with an overview. You have these entitlements. This is the remaining time of them. What we next have, a little bit lower here, we have the watch list. You can see this as a CC field on emails. This is basically providing you with the ability that any email notification being sent to the contact or consumer. So if I would empty these fields, then we would have the field consumer showing up. So there is B2C fully available out of box. And also here we have already add consumer, our custom turnkey based add a record on the fly ability. I can just click on this. The form will load, you can provide the basic information, hit submit, and the form will be populated accordingly. Anyone you add to the watch list will receive those email notifications sent to the contact or the consumer as well. Work notes list, they are about receiving internal notifications. So here, anything being sent to the assignment group or the assignee will also be sent to those on the work notes list. ServiceNow differentiates between additional comments as well as work notes. You also can have both fields being displayed at the same time. This is supposed to go to the client, while work notes is about documenting the work you provided for them. The activity log provides you with details around what the case is about, what was discussed, how was it updated, or if anything of the field values was changed, you can see it in here as well. Another important part we have on the case is integration with other applications. So for example, if you have multiple cases coming in for the same product, you might want to follow up with your R&D department and have them look into these cases to perform a root cause analysis on why this is happening and how this is happening and what we can do about it. We added the ability to simply right-click at the top, create problem, at which point key information from the case will be used to create a problem. In this case, we added with the turnkey a product field on the problem form. Out of box, this does not exist. Problem would only look at configuration items. Let's say you are selling vacuum graphic tablets. That's your product you're producing. It does not fit the use case for being a configuration item within your organization because it does not support any business services besides sales and driving revenue, but it is definitely something what we need as a product in order to hand it over to R&D. We copy over the short description, we have basic tracking information, we also get an information message at the very top. Going back to the case, we have now a field in the tab related records problem, and it has been automatically populated with the problem we just created. Same functionality applies when we're looking towards field services, another integration. In this case, this one is coming out of box. Let's say we're talking about an appliance over here and someone has to go on site to provide maintenance and service and has to do those kind of duties. This is what field services is about. And again, in this case, it's copied over as an affected CI. In this case, a graphic tablet would not fit the need of being a CI. It should be more the asset. This, however, is out-of-box functionality. You copy over the short description. This can, of course, also be adjusted to contain more or less information. On the work order, you can see initiated from, and we have the case now referenced over here. We can go back to the case form and continue from here. A final integration we also see requested quite often would be towards ideation. So if a client has enhancement requested ideas, how a product could be improved, or it would be great if it would have this or that functionality, you can record this as a feature, and we can add a similar functionality as we have create problem or create work order, for then going forward and creating an idea, feeding ultimately into demand management, being reviewed by product management, and then potentially being turned into a new project within the organization. Regarding additional information that is tracked on a case, we can, number one, before I go into the related records at the bottom, we also have the ability to create special handling notes. Let's say the client is on the phone, has important information for someone else. You can click this. We updated this functionality to also include the create a record on the fly. You will get the form. You can create a record and you stay still on the case. You don't have to leave the case, find special handling notifications, open a new record, create it, save it, go back, having now to find the case, open it again to continue your work over there. So it's really a one-stop shop idea, creating those records on the fly. You can add SLAs for cases for time tracking purposes, resolution, acknowledgement SLAs. You can have subtasks if needed. ServiceNow is able to track phone calls, appointments, emails. Those will then also be added to the calendar I showed earlier. Related cases, that would be containing other cases of the same client, of the same account. In this case, I removed George. If I would add George back to the list up here, this would then auto-populate with the cases we have from George from earlier. Attached knowledge, we could attach knowledge articles. So now I added George to the form. If we look here at related cases, there are 11 other cases. We are not limited to George. We are looking at everything regarding Boxeo. We can attach knowledge. Here is already the log for the social integration as well as time worked overview. Looking further in the navigation structure, we have customers. That would contain an overview of the partners, their accounts, the contacts relating to their accounts, as well as the consumers we have in the system. Now let's go and look at one of the accounts. As an example, let's open Boxeo. And we have the basic tracking information. Again, we can add any additional fields you need in order to make this fit the needs of your organization. Also here, as you can see, the special handling notes is not limited to the case form. It is related to Boxeo. So in this case, it will also show, of course. Out of box, we can track the primary contact. If there's a parent account, to resemble the account hierarchy, which you can see down here. So we have Boxeo at the very top, 3 direct child companies, and then within EMEA we have another Boxeo France and Germany. So you have full visibility. If I click on them, I would open one of their account records. Other details, for example, these would be the address or location details of the headquarters of the main contact center. But we have the ability of tracking multiple addresses. Many organizations have more than one location. These can all be then tracked down here. The very first tab, I don't want to skip it. This is giving you an overview of all the contacts we already have for this account. Cases, all the cases relating to it. Assets, same over here. Assets itself can have its own address related. So even though it is related to a Boxeo, which is at this address at the moment, the asset might not be at this address, it might be somewhere else. So of course we can also track the assets over here. Contracts, and all the contracts and entitlements that apply to this account. Other accounts where this is a parent account of account relationships. So for example, Unity System is a partner of Boxeo for providing service and support for reselling products, for example. Account team members, social profiles, and other relationships can also be added over here. To go in the final stretch of the demo, I have the service contracts where I quickly would like to show you the form. Contracts have a start and end date, of course, and you have to have an approver. You see the entitlements, which assets are covered by it. You can also add the terms and conditions and other details to the contract itself. The entitlements we can have in here, we have direct access to the assets and product models, and of course the orders we have available. As a final item, what I would like to show you is the task t-shirt sizing dashboard. I have a demo dashboard available over here. This will now give a manager an overview about all the team members he or she has, how many tasks are assigned, how many points those tasks result into, and the resulting utilization ratio. This can also be displayed in a graphical way, so you can easily say, well, probably Bo Ruggery will gonna go and get the next ticket assigned. He has the lowest utilization here at the moment, and while others already are pretty busy already. Also, we keep track of this data on a daily basis to allow you trending, getting more insight and details about it, and you can get here an overview about the utilization average, in this case of the past 7 days. And with this, I would conclude my demonstration. Sean.
Thank you, Andreas. As always, very informative. Just a couple of a couple of things, I guess, and then we'll move on to Q&A and wrap up. But as Andreas said multiple times, if you're not familiar with ServiceNow's configurability, almost everything we saw today is certainly customizable to your particular use case. And not just from a process or field or form standpoint, but also customer facing from an appearance standpoint. So certainly we work with many clients that are, reskinning that support portal perhaps to match either something existing they've got or company theme or colors. So with that, a couple of things, and then we've got a couple of minutes for some questions. First of all, what can you do from here, or what action items can you take away? Certainly, we're prepared to provide an in-depth personalized demo. Generally, those work best when we've had a conversation first to understand a specific use case or pain point. Uh, Sometimes, particularly around Salesforce, if we have an in-depth understanding of how you're leveraging it today or what you're wishing it could do, we're certainly happy to work within our demo instance and kind of stand up a POC to give you something that's really compelling. Just certainly reach out to us to get that scheduled. Again, you're going to get all this content, both a recording and the slides, emailed to you from our marketing team. Please feel free, and even more than that, I would ask you to share that content with your team, socialize the idea of how to optimize either your existing investment in ServiceNow or get the benefits that you've seen here today. Lastly, as always in every webinar, any IP that we show off, we certainly extend an offer of savings around that. This is no different. So we're offering 20% off our CrossView CSM Turnkey for any deal through August. Lastly, we do a couple of webinars a month. I just wanted to get a plug in for the other webinar that's this month. It's on June 28th. It's specific to integrations. My guess is this is the wrong audience for this, because this is probably more on the development or technical side. But we'll be featuring our Jira integration, our Salesforce integration, and our Microsoft TFS integration. So if you're trying to extend ServiceNow into any of those platforms, we'd encourage you to sign up for the 28th, or better yet, visit our website and sign up for the entire webinar series. You'll get reminders along the way. So Bridget, I guess so I know whether we should wrap up or not. Did we get any questions in today?
We did get a couple questions. Thanks, Sean. So the first one is, can I integrate my telecom data into dashboards and reports within ServiceNow?
I take this one. Yes, you can. ServiceNow has good capabilities for integrations. And Sean, if you would switch over the presentation role to me, I can show some of the integrations what we did in the past. Here, you should be able to see my screen. What you see here is the integration with Vishidial, and these are custom reports you can provide of this. So for example, calls offered during the last 30 days, calls answered, other metrics we have, how many abandoned calls, where for example, the queue wait time during the last 100 days is less than 30 seconds. Also, these reports can be regrouped dynamically, so you don't have to leave the screen to get more insight into that. Yes, definitely possible.
Excellent. Bridget, any more?
Can we implement an existing business process by using workflows for enhanced automatic routing capabilities?
Yes, I take that one as well. ServiceNow has a graphical workflow engine, and it allows you to basically take a Visio diagram and translate it directly into a workflow inside ServiceNow. This would allow you then, based on the product selected, to have specific tasks being inserted for a case, or sending off an email, integrating with other systems. Yes, absolutely possible.
Great. Well, with that, I'm going to wrap us up and give you 5 minutes back of your day. Thank you again for attending the CrossViews webinar. Feel free to reach out to learn more or see that personalized demo focused on your use case. Have a great afternoon. Enjoy your day.